Hey, man.
What's up? What's up?
What's up? Nathan just joined the room. Look at you. You're tan.
Trying to think. Does it look weird with the light on?
You're tan. You're
does,
super
it look,
tan.
does it look weird that I'm tan?
Yeah, you're super
I can
tan.
I can be mistaken for somebody from the Middle East and get
You
beat
are.
up.
You're a freaking Palestinian today. All right. Hold on. I'm gonna admit Nathan. All right, here we go.
Hey,
There he is.
what's up, guys?
How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Hold on. Let me get the gallery view here. Awesome. Can you hear Len? You on?
Yes, I'm
Okay.
on. Yes.
Everybody's on.
I can
I
hear.
can hear
Right.
you, Len. Hey, what's up, dude?
What's up, brother? So before we get going, I just want to give you some like what we talk about and how the logistics of the whole thing. I'm still like on Hawaiian time. Like, I know you feel bad for me. I'm on Hawaiian time. I just got back from Hawaii, so so we're gonna just freeform conversation, questions, and all that stuff. And then I have 3 questions that I ask all the guests, and then after those questions, you are free to leave and disconnect, and then we will continue the show. So that's
What do you mean? You guys continue the show after I?
Yeah. You exit and then we talk about you for the rest of the show.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah,
Like, what an asshole that guy was. Huh?
Exactly. That's exactly it. Yeah.
Did you hear what he
That's
said
right.
about that?
Yeah, that guy didn't.
Got it.
No, we just talk about music. You're welcome to talk to us about music, but
Yeah, we're gonna be talking. Yeah, that's exactly what we talk about is music. So,
Cool.
All right. So so generally I will count Len off and then we'll just start. This is taped and we'll edit it. So, if you don't like one of your answers, just let us know. But
Okay.
so Len, we are 3, 2, 1, and we're recording.
ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to another episode of Everything is Personal.
Hey, everybody. Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Yes, I didn't introduce you yet, John, but as usual,
well, no,
my lovely co-host.
The crowd is so off today. They're so giddy after being out from COVID, back from COVID, that they're premature on their applause. Apologize.
Well, Mr. John Small.
Yes. Welcome. Hey, everybody. Welcome. But I don't want it to steal any of the thunder. We've got a great guest.
No, great guest. Yes. Yep. Great guest. So I'm going to try to do an intro, but the guest will do a much better job than me, I'm sure. So today I am grateful to have the former NFL great writer, producer, podcast host, a bunch of other things that we can talk about. Mr. Nathan Ross Jackson. Welcome.
Wow.
You like that?
Welcome, Nate.
I got the middle name in there.
First name right too, man. That's impressive.
Nice.
Thanks, man. Yeah, happy
Welcome.
to be here with you guys.
Yeah, thanks for being on. So, did I leave anything out from the intro in terms of background?
Not really. Yeah, I'm a writer. I'm in radio now, so
Right.
I work for a sports talk radio station here in Denver, Colorado. I left LA. I don't know if I told you that, but I moved out of LA about a year ago. So I'm back in Denver where I played for 6 years for the Broncos, and I'm doing some radio stuff. And other than that, you got it right.
Cool.
Nice.
So you grew up in Northern Cali, like San Jose, was it, right?
Yep. San Jose, California.
Cool. And then you played football as a kid, and then what was your background like growing up?
Yeah, so I grew up in San Jose, which is in the Bay Area, and every single kid on my block was in love with the San Francisco 49ers. Those were our heroes. Jerry Rice, Joe Montana, even Bill Walsh, the head coach there, and all those guys. So every weekend and every day during the summer, we were out in the street playing football, and my dream was to be a football player. But my parents didn't want me to play tackle football. My parents were both educators, both teachers, and didn't want their son smashing skulls with other kids. Go figure. And so told me I couldn't play until I got to high school. So I was a swimmer actually growing up, very competitive, very dedicated swimmer. That was my first love, as far as athletics goes, as me competing in it. I was also a soccer player. So it wasn't until I got to high school that my parents said, "Okay, you're old enough, go for it now." And so I put on a helmet and put in a mouthpiece and started smashing skulls, and that started my career as a football player.
But you were a pretty big dude, right? Growing up, like
I
you're
wasn't huge growing up. I was
no,
when I was a little kid, I was pretty muscular,
right.
but I hit puberty later than a lot of other kids, so I wasn't, I didn't go into high school as a big kid. I was 5'7", 5'8", 130
Oh,
pounds
really?
as a freshman. Yeah,
Wow.
not a big guy. So when I first started playing football, I hadn't hit puberty yet, and there I was playing against kids who had some skills and had been playing since Pop Warner. So that was a learning experience for me for sure. Football is so much about technique, and if you don't know what you're doing, you go out there against guys who do know what they're doing, and they rock you. I mean, they know
Right.
how to hit, and they catch you under the chin, and so it was a good learning experience for me that first year, especially. But sophomore year, I hit puberty, started getting hair in funny places, guys, and with that, I started playing a little better football, and I grew like 2 inches every year in high school. By the time I was a senior, I was like 6'2", 6'3", and
No.
coming into my own.
What positions did you play
Yeah, that's what I was
early
wondering.
on, and then through college and then the NFL?
Yeah, so freshman year, I was a running back, and
Hmm.
I thought I was going to be a running back. They stuck me back there, and like I said, I was the freshman prepubescent kid going up against sophomores who knew how to hit, and it didn't really go well as a running back for me. So my sophomore year, I switched to quarterback because I had a good arm and I wanted to play quarterback, right? So um, it quickly became apparent, though, my sophomore year that I was going to be a backup because my buddy Justin was the starter. He was a starting quarterback, and I didn't want to sit on the bench. So at the end of my sophomore year, I switched to wide receiver. The last game of the season, sophomore year, I played wide receiver, and I loved it. I mean, I loved having that ball come at me. I've been playing catch so much as a kid and running routes and being in the street and at the park. It was just a natural instinct to catch the ball. And that's what I realized that I was born to do out on a football field. So when I went into varsity as a junior and a senior, that's what I did. I played wide receiver and free safety. Back then, you had to play both ways, both sides of the ball. We had like 30 guys on our football team. These days, everyone's specialized. You don't play both ways unless you don't have the numbers. But back then, everybody played both ways, and so I did the same.
And then, so when you were coming out of high school, were you getting a scholarship? Were you like, I know you went to Menlo College.
Yeah.
Was that the one that, so were you being looked at by, Division I schools, or like, what was the situation coming out of high school? Because you started so late.
Yeah. So high school, I went to a small high school, and there's a lot of high schools in San Jose, 25 or 30 of them. So we were one of the smaller schools. So I didn't get recruited much at all out of high school, and so I walked on to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. I don't know if
Mm.
you guys are familiar with that school.
Hmm.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
applied and I got in as a student, and went and talked to the football coach, and he said, we can't give you a scholarship, but you should walk on for us, and we'd like to take a look at you. So I accepted that invitation, and I, agreed, and I declared that I was going to go to Cal Poly. And then right before I went there, that head coach that I had spoken with got hired somewhere else. He got hired in the NFL as an assistant coach, and they hired a new coach at Cal Poly, this old crotchety, curmudgeonly old, local football coach guy. And when I went down there with my dad for a visit, kind of the orientation, I went and introduced myself to this guy and told him I had talked to the previous coach, and he said, we'd be happy to have you walk on. And this coach took a look at me and he said, you know what, I don't know if we have any room this year for you. You should just come here, go to school, and then try out at the end of your sophomore, or I'm sorry, at the end of your freshman year after you get
Right.
acclimated to the school. So I went to Cal Poly thinking I was going to play football, and didn't play football that freshman year. Joined a fraternity, partied a lot,
Yeah.
didn't go to class too much. Was having a good college experience, but
Right.
something was missing. So at the end of that freshman year, I tried out for the football team, and I got cut. That same coach who told me wait another year after spring ball told me you're too slow to play wide receiver. You're too small to play tight end. We still don't have a spot for you on the team. So
Right.
I was devastated. and I went back there my sophomore year. Actually, I went home for summer between freshman and sophomore year. And I had this amazing summer with my friends from back home. And then at the very end of that summer, a friend of mine, one of these friends that I spent all summer with, committed suicide, and caught us all completely off guard. We were blown away by what had happened. We were trying to pick up the pieces and move on with our lives. A couple of weeks later, I had to go back to school. So I was as a sophomore, really, really empty inside, feeling this void of this friendship that was lost, feeling this emptiness that I wasn't competing or felt no purpose in my life. And I started talking to my high school football coach about that, and he suggested, hey, why don't you take a look at a junior college or Menlo College? I hadn't even heard of Menlo College at that time. And it's right up the street. It was 30, 40 minutes from where I grew up in San Jose. It's right down the street from Stanford. But I hadn't heard about it. And once I started doing some research, it was kind of like the stars were aligning and fate was kind of showing itself. And I made the acquaintance of the coaches there and went for a trip there. And then I decided to transfer. And it was the best decision I ever made. I ended up really finding myself there, not just on a football field, but as a writer. I got to write for the school newspaper there, the Menlo Oak. And I had no aspiration of doing that at Cal Poly. But I got to Menlo with 500 students at the school, 100 guys on our football team. And it was this intimate feel there where I really got to experiment with things that I cared about. I actually did some radio stuff there as well. So all the things that I do now or have done professionally, I did there at Menlo College and was kind of given free reign to try that. We had ex-NFL players coaching us there. And my childhood hero, Bill Walsh, his son was the athletic director there. And it's just so happened Bill would come to the games and stand in the end zone. And I had some big games in front of him, and that got the ball rolling for me. And so when I was done with Menlo, when I graduated from Menlo College, I was signed to the 49ers, and that started my NFL career.
So you were a walk-on 49ers as well, right? And then,
well, technically, there's no such thing as a walk-on.
Is it undrafted?
Undrafted, free
kind
agent.
Of free agent.
So there's 7 rounds in an NFL draft, and then once those 7 rounds are up, there's still a bunch of guys out there that are going to get signed to a team.
Right.
Sometimes it's a benefit to you if you don't get drafted, because if you get drafted in the 7th round, for example, whatever team drafts you, you're going to that team. You don't have a choice. But if you don't get drafted, but there's still, say, 3 or 4 teams that are interested in you, you can decide which team you want to go to based on what's the most favorable destination for you, whether it's location or you look at the roster, the best chance you have of making the team or whatever. I had 2 teams that were interested in me, the Ravens and the Niners. I, of course, chose the Niners because it was down the street. My childhood heroes were up there. So, I was signed to the Niners as a free agent.
Yeah. And then did you ever play for the Niners, or did you go to Denver right away?
Yeah, so it was kind of weird. Like, I got there, so the draft happens in April, and I signed, 2 hours after the draft was over, and that started the off-season conditioning program, and then mini camps, which is just 2 or 3 day kind of short camps, practices.
Right.
And I went through that in April, May, June, July, and training camp was in August. Now, to get on the team at all, once you get drafted or you get signed, you have to go through physicals. And I had, they have extensive physicals, and they go through your injury history. And if they catch anything that's wrong with you already on the way in, if it's bad enough, they make you sign a waiver for that specific injury, so that if you get hurt again, they can cut you. They don't have to fix that because it was bad when you got there. So I had this shoulder problem. I had dislocated it 3 or 4 times in college, and had elected not to have surgery on it because I was afraid that the length of time it would take to rehab it would derail my ability to get on an NFL team. So I just took the chance to try to tough it out and rehab it and hope that it held up. Well, they found that in the physical. I had to sign a waiver for it. And then sure enough, second week of training camp, I dislocated that shoulder. So it ended up bothering me, the rest of training camp. I toughed it out, but at the end of training camp, the head coach said, "Look, Nate, we'd love to keep you around on practice squad, but you're injured, and if you're injured, you're kind of no good to us." So they cut me, but they did tell me, if you get surgery and you get it fixed and it's healthy, we'll sign you back next season. So I went back and lived at home with my mom and dad that season, which was 2002, had surgery on my own insurance and rehabbed it, on my own. And then they kept their word and did sign me back at the end of that, or at the beginning of the next season. And I went through that whole process again with them, the whole off season, the whole mini camps and all that. But by then there was a new coach there. The head coach that was there the previous year was gone. We had a new head coach. He didn't really know me from a can of paint. Bill Walsh was still there as an advisor.
Right.
And so as training camp was going in 2003, it was in the middle of training camp. The way it was shaping out, I was way down on the depth chart, and Bill Walsh kind of made a few calls on my behalf and got me out of there. So I was on my way out to practice one day, had my helmet in my hand. I was all taped up, ready to go practice, get a tap on the shoulder. They said, "Hey, Bill wants to talk to you upstairs." And I went upstairs and he told me to sit down. He said, "Nate, we've traded you to Denver. Your flight leaves in 3 hours. Good luck." And I was on a plane a couple hours later, and the next morning I was practicing with the Broncos. So I had a new locker, a new helmet, new jersey, and all that. So that started my tenure with the Broncos. And then, as you can imagine, it was pretty, well, surprising, but also kind of traumatic to get pulled out of what I thought was like my opportunity to play for my hometown team, right?
And by your childhood hero too.
Yeah, my childhood heroes.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, it was the best possible thing that could have happened for me. I mean, I wouldn't have made the team with the 49ers, but I ended up in a scenario where I had a coach that did appreciate what I did and gave me a chance to make the team. And I ended up playing 6 seasons in Denver.
Who was the quarterback for Denver at that time?
Jake Plummer.
Yeah.
And Shanahan was the coach, or?
Yep, Mike Shanahan was the coach, and he kind of had a connection with Bill Walsh because he had kind of studied under that Bill Walsh coaching tree.
Yep.
He had been the offensive coordinator of the 49ers after Bill Walsh had left, but still it was this trickle down thing where, they ran the same offense, and all these coaches kind of adopted these philosophies of Bill Walsh and became, purveyors of his system and therefore appreciated his advice when it came to players because they kind of all liked the same type of players. So
when you played, I read a list of injuries that you suffered. Was there one single injury that you were like, man, I don't know if I can go back after this? I'm always curious because, I'm not a professional athlete. John might be, but I'm not.
No,
you can tell that John is. Thank you.
Have this
So I just I know that playing basketball. I'm the old head. I try to play basketball with a bunch of young kids, and I'll get elbowed in the eye, and I get a black eye and bloody nose. I'm like, I don't think I'm cut out to still play basketball with these kids. And I read your injuries, and I'm like, holy shit! Like some of these are pretty traumatic. Was there ever one that were like, I don't know if after the rehab, if I ever want to do this again?
It's kind of sick, but no, I never felt like this is the one I can't come back from. It was always like just another speed bump. This is part of it. It was from a very young age, like these football injuries start happening, and you see that the way to succeed in football is to push through them. And if you get hurt, you rehab it, you come back stronger. And you are constantly, if you're not getting hurt, you're constantly watching guys drop around you. Like I think about this one play when I was in high school that kind of personifies that. I was playing safety. We were scrimmaging a team in San Jose called Overfelt. And their quarterback, who was this really talented athlete, this Samoan guy, was running with the ball. He juked a bunch of guys. He came through the line of scrimmage. He got held up by one of our guys around his legs. He spun to get out of it, and he ran right into our linebacker. And our linebacker hit him right in the face. His face mask, his chin strap popped off. His face mask pushed through his lip and split his lip from his nose down to his lip, open, down to his teeth and his gums. And he was laying on his back, blood coming out of his face, spitting out chunks of flesh. I was standing over him, and I was watching this happen. And I took a step back, and people rushed in. The medical people rushed in. The ambulance came out on the field. They put him in a gurney. They took him away. And then they blew the whistle, and we kept playing.
Yeah.
And it was a couple plays where we were all looking around at each other like, okay, I guess this is how it goes. And that's the kind of ethos that is encouraged. The show must go on. If you're at practice and a guy gets cracked and he's laid out on the practice field and cannot physically move, the coach says, let's move it down 20 yards, move it down 20 yards so we can keep practicing.
Wow.
And so that was kind of the way it went. And you just push and push and push. And that long list of injuries gets longer and longer. But there was an empowering feeling about overcoming that, about watching your body heal, about being down in the tank and feeling like shit for, a couple days or a week, but watching your body start to heal. And then there's a lot of self-talk that goes on.
Yeah.
A lot of looking in the mirror and telling yourself, you got this, you got this, you got this. And by God, it works. And you get stronger and you get back on the field. And then, you're buoyed by that. So even at the end, even when my career was over and like nobody wanted me, I still was like, I'm ready to go. Who's going to sign me?
So interesting. I mean, there's probably a lot of players like you in the NFL because people, outside of the NFL can't imagine that people would subject themselves to that kind of pain and torture, even though the money can be good, et cetera.
Right.
You think there's like almost like an addiction to the thrill of like, not knowing what's going to happen to you. And then maybe the thrill of, getting injured, then overcoming the injury. Like it seems like a lot of people in the NFL must share some sort of psychological trait, not to make you be a shrink here for a minute, but I'm curious what it is that makes NFL players, keep going back and doing it, even despite seeing people spitting up flesh and, knowing that people get paralyzed and get brain injuries and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's this life that you're on the razor's edge, and it's like the adrenaline is unmatchable. The money, like you said, the adulation, everywhere you go, it's a thing. You get police escorts through the town. You go right up onto the tarmac. You get onto the airplane. You land at the airport. You land right next to buses. You get on the buses, and there's police escorts through the city, velvet ropes into their hotel room, and then you get out there on the field, and you got 75,000 people screaming. I mean, the adrenaline that you feel when you're on the football field, there is no pain out there. I mean, you don't feel pain. And so the pain comes tomorrow. The pain comes after the adrenaline dies down. And, a lot of it is about the way you're treated and the way you identify as a football player. Like my identity was so wrapped up in being a football player that I couldn't picture the future. I couldn't picture life without it, even though I knew instinctively life would go on after it. You can't put yourself in the future, because if you do that, you're gonna get trampled on the field. It's like you really got to believe that you are a superhero, or else you will get smashed. And so that's what you see when you look out there. All these guys believe they're superhuman, and there is some weird kind of thing that happens from the energy of the crowd. And I feel like they're imbued with this sort of momentary armor where you can withstand these types of hits on the football field that you could never withstand if you were just walking down the street.
Right.
Yeah.
If I was walking
like
down the street,
Incredible Hulk. Yeah.
Yeah. If I was just walking down the street and some guy hit me like that, probably break a lot of bones. I'd be in the hospital. But for whatever reason, you're so
charged up.
Charged up that you can handle that. Like you see guys jump as high as they can and fall flat on their backs and just pop right up.
Yeah.
Like what would happen to you guys right now if you just stood up right now from your seat, jumped up in the air and landed parallel on your back?
Well, I think just standing up without even jumping would probably be a little like, oh, my back.
Exactly. And so me too now. I mean, I do the same stuff now that I'm not playing football anymore. My body's changed, and the way I recover from aches and pains, it's all different. So there's just